The real story, weeks of emotional, tense testimony and days of jury deliberation, all leading to conspiracy theorist Alex Jones being ordered to pay nearly $1 billion in damages to Sandy Hook families and a responding officer. But they say it was never about the money. Here to give us an inside look at the defamation trial and what this verdict really means for those involved, one of the attorneys for the families, Matt Blumenthal. And here in studio, a name you're going to see on your ballot in just a few weeks, Eric Russell, the Democratic candidate running a historic campaign for Connecticut State Treasurer. He's going to be joining us to discuss his vision for Connecticut's financial future. Well, good morning, and thanks for joining us on The Real Story. I'm Jenn Bernstein. A jury here in Waterbury Superior Court has ordered conspiracy theorist Alex Jones to pay nearly $1 billion to 8 Sandy Hook families and an FBI agent that responded to the school on that day that 20 children and 6 staff members were killed almost 11 years ago. Jones, an alt-right radio show host, has publicly several times questioned if that tragedy was a hoax. The family saying that this has led to years of hurt, threats, and continued trauma.
I legitimately thought it might have been staged, and I stand by that, and I don't apologize for it.
And don't apologize, Mr. Jones. Please don't apologize.
No, I've already apologized to the parents over and over again.
We know you're
I don't apologize to you.
Objection.
Don't apologize to you.
You're going to do it again.
Still contentious there, even on the stand. 14 days of testimony, 3 days of jury deliberations, all led to Alex Jones now owing $965 million to the plaintiffs. And we have to remember that his previous trial in Texas also ordered him to pay nearly $50 million to the parents of Jesse Lewis, a 6-year-old victim of the Sandy Hook school shooting. Jones has continued to say he's not guilty and doesn't agree with the verdicts. But again, now he owes well over $1 billion for the conspiracies that he spread. And the families and their legal team say that this is more than overdue.
After years of fear, threats, harassment, after realizing that Alex Jones's cruelty and greed knew no bounds, they decided to take a stand. All I can really say is that I'm just proud that what we were able to accomplish was just to simply tell the truth.
The truth many in Connecticut know all too well, and a day that stays with us here in our state forever. Joining me right now, Matt Blumenthal, an attorney representing these families. Matt, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Well, first of all, really a historic verdict was rendered down the other day. We were taking it live here, and I was listening as the amounts were read, and you kind of breathed a sigh of relief because that testimony that we had to hear for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, was incredibly disturbing what these families went through. What was going through your mind when you heard their verdict?
We were all thinking that this verdict heard these families, heard these plaintiffs, and totally vindicated the memory of their loved ones and their own stories. This verdict is a victory not only for these families, and it is a big victory for them, it is a victory for the truth. It is a victory against the despicable lies that Alex Jones and his cohorts promoted to millions and millions of people across this country and across the world, leading to the harassment of our clients, including death threats 3,000 miles away from where they had lived at the time of the shooting. Many of them had to move numerous times to escape these despicable, harassing actions of Jones's followers. And today, based on this verdict, the world knows that in the American justice system, you will be held accountable if you tell these sorts of hurtful lies about people and spread them this far. It will not pay.
I know that one of the plaintiffs was saying after that verdict was read that this shows that the internet isn't the wild, wild west, that there are consequences for words. What kind of impact do you think that this ruling is going to have on future cases, even across the country?
Well, we hope that it will send a message to Alex Jones and people like him that it will not pay to tell these sorts of terrible lies about people, especially the victims of mass shootings and their families. These are real people they have real stories. Their loved ones lived real lives. And this is a real verdict that will send a real message to people across the country that it will not pay. It may take a while, but the American justice system will catch up to you. And that's all because of the courage of these families.
I know that attorney Chris Maddie was saying that Alex Jones, according to him, had been hiding assets, that your legal team was going to do whatever it took to find where those assets are. Describe that process. I mean, how much do you think he's hiding, and will these families see that money, in your opinion?
You're exactly right. We don't know exactly how much money he's made off of this enterprise, but we know he's made a lot. And what I can say is that we will use every legal mechanism at our disposal. We will go to the ends of the earth, and we will turn over every rock to find every dollar possible for these plaintiffs. They deserve it, and the truth deserves it.
You know, I know we touched on this a little bit in the beginning, but watching the testimony, watching what these families went through, listening to them, reliving a nightmare basically on the stand, all while Alex Jones is mocking the trial while this is going on. What was it like in your seat? You know, you have the families sitting there, you know, depending on you as well, but every single day, take us to what it was like in the courtroom for you all, from your perspective.
It was extraordinarily tense and moving to hear these families share these stories about their loved ones, to bare their souls, to talk about the hurt and the pain and the harassment and the threats that they've experienced at the hands of these despicable people. And they shouldn't have had to do this. There never should have been someone like Alex Jones trying to exploit their pain. But there was someone like Alex Jones. There was Alex Jones. And these families felt that it was important not only to stand up for themselves and the memories of their loved ones, but also for the victims of future mass shootings, of future tragedies like Sandy Hook, so that on top of grieving their loved ones, they do not have to face these despicable, terrible lies that injure their reputations and really rob them of their sense of security in the world.
And you hope that he hears this loud and clear in the verdict. I mean, I will say that while that verdict was being read, though, he's live on the air trying to get money from people. So, you know, will that have any impact moving forward, the fact that he's still trying to raise money and doesn't seem to be taking it seriously in a lot of ways?
Well, we know that Alex Jones is one thing. He is a bully. And like most bullies, underneath all that bluster and cruelty, there is a small, terrified man. And he understands, I suspect, that, as I said before, we will pursue him and his assets to the end of the earth to enforce this judgment for every dollar that he has. And so we know, whatever he says on the air, that he's taking this process seriously. And if he's not now, he certainly will in the future.
We know that Norm Pattis's attorney said that they would be filing an appeal. What's the response from you all on that?
Well, we're going to defend this verdict with every means at our disposal, and we're confident that it will hold up on appeal. But it sends a message to everyone across the country and the world, regardless. This jury has listened to these plaintiffs. It has spoken loudly and clearly. And these plaintiffs, I just can't say it enough. They are wonderful people. They are courageous people. They have stood up for the truth, and they have won. And
they have been through hell and back. That's for sure. Very brave of them to speak afterward as well, and to go through this whole trial with you. But well done on your victory with that, and thank you so much for coming on The Real Story and talking about it.
Thanks so much for having me, Jen.
All right, coming up, election season is fast approaching, and we are continuing to bring in candidates of the state's biggest races and ask them about the questions that you want to know about. Joining me next is Eric Russell, the Democratic candidate who hopes to take over as state treasurer. Stay with us.